Hello, hero of collectors here. How's it going, everybody? Hope y'all are doing fantastic. I know I am. And today we're going to be taking a look at the X-Men 2023 Chode, I might use those interchangeably, Build-A-Figure wave. I'm going to say this up top. I don't have a lot of connection to all of the characters in this wave. So, my ranking is based more on the figures themselves and how much I enjoyed taking pictures and just overall displaying them versus the actual accuracy to the characters in the comic books. That is something I really should take into consider, but given how many of these figures I just picked up because they either finish teams or they go to a certain part in my overall collection, I don't have as much connection to them. There are two figures that I have definite connection to, but they ended up going two very different directions than I thought. So, with all of that out of the way, let's start this ranking at the bottom with number 8. Alright, at the very bottom, this is the figure that surprised me the most, was Emma Frost. She was one of two that I pre-ordered, but she lands at number 8, the very bottom of my list, because, well, while this is accurate to the design of the character and probably my favorite look for her overall, the figure is just kind of a pain. She is very difficult to stand up given that she has heels. I'm not even touching my desk currently as I'm afraid I will knock her over. And then, of course, the cape is just a real pain to work around. I know that it's the design of the character, but it's just really limited, and it was just an awful time trying to take photos of her. I don't hope for a re-release of this, but I wouldn't mind them taking another crack at this costume. But instead of doing this cape here, they attempt a cloth cape, because as of the recording of this video, Hasbro is now releasing a Doctor Doom with a cloth cape and an Odin with a cloth cape. So I would like to see them attempt Emma Frost with one, just to make up for this figure. But yeah, she is my number 8. Alright, at number 7 we have Chamber, and there's a lot of factors that really brought this figure down for me. One, I don't have a super big connection to Generation X. That may make some people upset, but it's just the truth. So this didn't feel like a much needed addition to my collection as others did. Then the fact that he is using old suited body legs makes him very hard to stand, and the top heavy nature of his head makes it even worse. So that is a pain. My real upside to this figure is that I end up buying 2 of him so that I can use him to make a custom movie Ghost Rider. But this figure overall, I think, could have benefited from an alternate head. I know he uses wraps to cover up his flaming chest and mouth area, so that would have been nice, but, you know, overall, just upgrading the legs would have been the biggest benefit to this figure, and that is why he ranks at number 7 for my list. Moving on to number 6, we have Kid Omega, aka Quentin Quire. I was originally not even going to keep this figure or even buy him, just get the Build-A-Figure piece online separate. But in a Hasbro Pulse sale, I ended up buying him just to complete the wave, and the figure kind of won me over. Also, his inclusion in the Sabretooth War storyline that I've been reading helped me kind of be okay with keeping this figure. So it's not terrible, but not one I really needed for my collection, even though it won me over. So, and the biggest problem, I would say, with the figure itself, aside from my own personal issues, is the fact that the hands don't have trigger fingers, and he is really awkward with holding his guns. So, all that combined makes him land at number 6 on my ranking. And now at number 5, we have Fang, one of the few characters I do have a personal connection with in this wave, just because of where he has popped up in the comics I have read. This is a pretty decent execution. He's got new pinless joints. I would say the most fiddly thing with this figure are the bone little additions to the costume, the little accents. They just kind of are floating pieces and can fall down from where I want them pretty easily. If I had one complaint, like major complaint that affects my decision and where he ranks, it's The fact that he doesn't come with a neutral head, this always screaming head, makes it a little difficult for him to just stand guard over Lilandra in my display. I always have to have him in some kind of dynamic pose. But aside from that, it's a decent figure, so that's why he ranks at number 5. Now at number 4, just missing the podium spot, we have Monet. The biggest downside for this figure is the lack of accessories. This really could have been a number 1 figure if she included more. And I think that was a big complaint overall for the entire plastic-free era. They seem to really lack accessories being thrown in the boxes. So I had to add this Carnage hand in from my own collection to kind of represent her penance personality, from what I understand. Again, I'm not super connected to Generation X, so I just know very little bits of lore from that series. But if she would have included the penance hands and head as well as other members of Generation X, I would have bought multiple of this figure and slowly built out that team a bit more. I could still do that using bits and pieces from what I already have in my collection, but if this figure would have come with it, much like the New Mutants Danny Moonstar figure did years ago, I would be more inclined to rank this higher. But as it stands right now, this figure ranks at number 4 for my ranking. Okay, number 3, getting the bronze medal today. I kind of had to adjust my camera here, but we have Chod, or Chode, the Build-A-Figure of this wave. Now, I'm very aware of the discourse regarding this figure being inaccurate in some areas and the complaint about him lacking paint. And while I understand where the people are coming from with that complaint, it doesn't bother me too much. And a big part of that is I just don't have a serious connection to Chod. So just having at least a decent representation in my collection of this character is fine, and I don't really need a second one if they ever do an update, so I'm happy with this Build-A-Figure being completed. My biggest complaint would be that he didn't come with any weapons. I know he has a signature gun, so maybe getting that, like a trigger hand, would have been really great, but as it stands, this is still a fun figure. I had a lot of fun posing him with Corsair against other space characters, so I will give him points in that regard. So that is why Chod ranks at number 3 on my list. All right, number 2 with the silver medal, we have Corsair, aka Father Summers of the Summers Brothers. This figure is pretty great. He's on a modified Vulcan body. He's got the right accessories with the gun and the sword. He was really fun posing with Chod, like I mentioned just a moment ago, swashbuckling his way through the galaxy against other invaders. Overall, it was just a fun figure to get. While not one I pre-ordered, I was very happy to get him eventually. So this is why he ranks at number 2 on my list. And at number 1 on my list is, of course, the astonishing Cyclops figure. He was the other figure that I pre-ordered from this wave, and yeah, I guess I'm not surprised he ranked number 1. This is one of 2 of my favorite Scott costumes, and the fact that they did it so well and on a brand new mold with all the details you'd expect from an astonishing look for Cyclops, it really won me over. It was a fun figure to get and very nice to have in hand alongside my other X-Men figures. He even took the place of my main Cyclops on my X-Men display for a little while. If I had one complaint, it would be that they didn't include other optic blast effects. We have this one that they gave us, and it's removable, so why they didn't give us more, or just other stuff to equip to this figure is kind of a bummer, but aside from that, it's still a great figure and very satisfying to have in hand for my collection. So that is why he gets the number 1 spot. And that was my ranking of the Chod or Chode Build-A-Figure wave from Marvel Legends. Do you agree with my choices in this wave where I put everybody? I know I might be a little divisive here, so please keep it civil in the comments. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will talk to you all in another video, another post, another time.